Hello, and welcome to Plugging Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. As I have some muscle memory issues with my scenes there. Last time on Plugging Along, we were finished cleaning up the options code in the MinstrelBuff plugin. So now adding a new option should no longer require two whole new functions and a new callback and all of that sort of stuff. And today, we're going to start by looking at a bug that fellow plugin developer Exogenesis found that I'm very interested to see if we can replicate it first, and then what changes are sufficient to stop it from happening. And then if we have time after that, we're going to look at how to add a skill that you can click on to a plugin UI. Still haven't cracked that one, and so we might find some inspiration in other plugins like Travel Window that already have it. And Exo in chat is already saying they deny everything. That's fair. Okay, also this month we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the Plugging Along stream, and to celebrate, I think we'll be doing some LOTRO point giveaways during the stream. I wonder, let's see, give away reset. Cool, and then give away open? Okay, cool. I always copy paste those out of a spreadsheet that I don't have open right now, and so that was a bit of a guess. So we're going to go ahead and have a giveaway running now, and in about 20 or 30 minutes, we might draw that first one for 100 LOTRO points. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions, and in the meantime, away we go. All right, so here we are in the 21st hall. I don't have a good point set up in Mirkwood yet, but Treebeard has reached the Siege of Mirkwood, which is going to be very exciting next week when I'm on break from school. Okay, so Exogenesis found an interesting thing was happening in some very specific circumstances. So how are we going to make this happen? Well, the easiest thing is to make the smallest piece of code that still makes the bug happen. And so we're going to go ahead and try that now. Since it's such a small thing, I don't feel that we need Visual Studio Code. We're just going to go ahead and open up a text editor. I'm going to use Sublime Text today. And we need two things. We need a .plugin file, and that tells LOTRO there's something to load. And we need a Lua file, and that tells LOTRO what code is being loaded. All right, so let's go ahead and just borrow from, let's see, the D tracker. We're going to go ahead and borrow that .plugin file, and we'll just go ahead and save it in a new place. So plugins, we actually need this to be in Lord of the Rings Online, and this is going into plugins, and we're just going to make a new folder called testing. You can call these folders whatever they want. They don't have to be a specific name. In here, we're going to go ahead and call this testing.plugin. And the name of this will be testing. Author, sure. Version, this is definitely version 0.0.1. Now, we don't need any of this description, so away it goes. Description, testing the loading a related bug that Exogenesis found. Awesome. Image, we don't need an image for that. And package. Okay, so this is going to be in, well, you know, I've already forgotten where it is. So we come in into Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, and make that window a little bit smaller. So the package is going to be testing. More testing, and .main. So we're going to come on in here, make a folder called testing, and make a code file called main.lua. There we go. That's kind of the bare minimum we need for a plugin to show up in the LOTRO plugin manager. Let's save this file. Oh, and the apartment. Testing. There we go. All right. We have an entry in the giveaway. Woo! Okay, so once we have a .plugin file, remember that in Lord of the Rings Online, you do have to hit this green arrow to refresh the list. LOTRO is not paying attention to that folder. Per asks, noob question, is there a way for me to tell my installation to use my NVIDIA GPU instead of the onboard Intel HD graphics? Excellent question. since I don't know off the top of my head, I'm going to come in here to the graphics options and check to see if there's an obvious setting here. I'm not seeing that, and so the next step I would look for is a operating system level. Let's see. So for me, I have an Intel Graphics Command Center, but I think there's also maybe an NVIDIA control panel. Sweet. Okay, let's open that up. I happen to have a similar one where I have an NVIDIA onboard and Intel onboard, NVIDIA separate card. So in here, I don't want 3D settings. Okay, I would swear that there is an option. Program settings. Okay, maybe I do want 3D. Let's see. Yes, let's look at this. So it is possible, and I don't know if this is the correct way to do it because I'm doing this very fast, but I believe NVIDIA lets you go ahead and say, hey, when this thing is running, go ahead and use force it to use the card and not the onboard. There's also a mechanism to do this from within Windows, and I recall having a little bit better success when I did it through the NVIDIA control panel and not through Windows. That being said, you can tell if you've been successful because, if you go to your task manager, then you should be able to see which GPU is running whatever it is. And so we can see here that LOTRO is over on GPU 1, which fingers crossed is the good one. And then Google's currently using GPU 0. So give that a try. Double check your work with the task manager. You see currently you should see GPU 0. After you make the change and relaunch LOTRO, you should see GPU 1. Give it a try. And if you do any secondary things that are like video capture or whatnot, in my experience, they need to be running on the same GPU. So if you use OBS or some other game capturing software, maybe make the same tweak for that as you do for LOTRO, so that they're always in sync. Give it a try. Let me know how that works. Okay, so we had just made a little plugin here testing. We can hit load, nothing happens. It's a do nothing, no op kind of thing. But we can see that it did try to load. So if we do something like import turbine and also turbine.shell.writeline, hello, then we can tell for sure that this is loading. And we did, in fact, see the hello line echoed out to chat here. Perfect. Oh, I still have a bunch of quests tracked here from earlier. All right, less visual clutter. So we can tell that this is executing code. So what was happening is Exo was calling a turbine function. And so we all can see that. Let me go ahead and pull this up and we'll go to the API documentation. And this is in turbine. And this was plugin data. And it was plugin data methods load and save. So the trick was plugin data.save takes a complete event, a save complete event handler. That is, what function should we call when loading is complete? And they were calling this with only the first 3 parameters. Wait a second. Oh, that's funny. Plugin data. Oh, they were calling load with only the first 2 parameters. This works. And then they were not passing a data load event handler, but it seemed like the last function that was declared was being called anyway. They had a class function, and so what was happening is that class function happened to use the self variable, which, when called in this manner, won't work. That self will be nil. They were getting a nil exception. That's what alerted them to the problem. So my goal is to try to replicate this as simple as possible, get rid of the class stuff, and just declare a function. Function, this should not be called, and in this function, turbine.shell, shell.writeline. Oh no, it was called, exclamation point. Okay, and we have a function main end. Awesome. So the final thing we need is we need to try to do the turbine.plugindata.load. So turbine.plugin-data.load, and let's see, they didn't actually provide what scope they were doing, but that's okay. We know that this is going to be a data scope. So it's either going to be account, character, or server. Now, there's nothing that controls which files you have access to. You can load the save files of other plugins. So we can just come in here and find a plugin file that already exists and try to load that. So this is a character file. Excellent. So local scope equals is the turbine.datascope dot character. Excellent. And file name, and we know that that is equal to MinstrelBuff.plugin-data. And this is a nice sort of safety thing that LOTRO Learning Online does, is that you can't actually ask it to load arbitrary files. You can give it specific folders within your plugin data, your account, your server, your character, and you can give it the name of a file. But escape sequences like .. don't work. You just give it the name of a file. In fact, now I'm thinking about it, I'm not 100% sure that you need the .plugin data. Well, an easy way to find out. Let's go search for patch load. Oops. Oh, yes, of course. I moved that folder. Let's go ahead and add a folder to search, and that'll be dtracker. Yes. Okay. Find me that. Patch data load. Okay. So dtracker. Yes. Okay. So the .plugin data is implicit. Even better. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. We're just looking for the file called MinstrelBuff.plugin data. All right. So we're loading with a scope and a file name. But crucially, we're not passing that third parameter of a handler to call. And we'll just see what happens. So this is kind of the minimum reproducible code, hopefully, reproduces this bug. Let's go ahead and unload and then reload. All right, excellent. Did not happen. So we want to go one step more. They were doing a class function. Let's see. So in case I can't remember how to do classes, I'll just look at another plugin, and we can see. All right. So we're going to go ahead and declare something. In this case, it's going to be something more basic, like a tester class. And that's going to be something. What did they do? Oh, goodness, I've closed this and forgot to copy the whole thing off. I'm going to guess it was a control, but I'm going to fire up Slack here for a second. Wait, Discord. The one that I actually clicked on. Oh, don't try to update things, just start. There we go. Okay. Coming on in here. What were you? You were a turbine.ui.window. Excellent. Try to get this as close as possible. So we do want to import a turbine.ui. We'll even go ahead and import turbine.ui. Oh, no. I was thinking .lotro. Don't need it. And we will just do a turbine.ui.window. Excellent. So we can go ahead and do a constructor, function tester class, constructor. It's good to spell it correctly. And that'll, of course, just call out to the turbine.ui.window constructor. And we're not going to do anything else with that. And then this function will be a tester class function. That should not be called. Okay, so that's the next bit simplest version of this. Is they saw this for a class function. It was actually in another file, but we're building up to see what's the kind of minimum thing. Oh, interesting point, Exogenesis. Wouldn't I need to define this should be called last here? Well, that's an interesting question. In your example, how were you importing your files? Was it in a underscore init file, or was it a main and it was just done at the top there? I didn't get a sense from what you had. So below your import logo line, is there anything else in that file? Oh, I'm still not actually calling main. Ha, that would help. So let's do a couple things here. Let's actually remember to call main, and let's go ahead and stick a turbine.shell.writeLine main, just to see that we're in there, as that would have been very helpful a minute ago. Oh, hey, the key has no value. Fun. What do you mean it has no value? Okay, so it looks like Exo is using an init file. Excellent. Lua has a way to import bunches of things implicitly. And I don't remember exactly what that looks like. So I can see lots of plugins are using that. Let's go ahead and find some of those. Show me view location details. All right. My goodness, that's a long path. All right, Combat Analysis is using it. Lunar Water, Waypoint, awesome. Thanks, Lunar Water. Love it. All right, Lunar Water, Waypoint. So a basic underscore init underscore file looks like this, where it's just a list of imports. And at the very end, oh, I'm sorry. So it looks like Exo just does an import in their main file, which fires this off, and right after that continues parsing the main. Okay, I think I've got that. So a question, why is this crashing? Also, why is main being called twice? Oh, because it's the last, oh, nice. Oh, yes. I like this. Hang on. This is great. No? Okay. We'll come back to that. So what's happening in line 18? Turbine plugin data load. We've got scope and we've got file name, and we're getting a file thing. The key has no value. I think that's really interesting. Why are we getting that? The file itself looks fine. Tell you what, we don't actually need that. Let's go ahead and just do a save so that there's definitely a file there first, and then do a load. So we're going to go ahead and we already have our scope and file names. Let's go ahead and call turbine.plugin.data.save. And we're going to do scope, file name, and the data, which is just an empty table. And then nil for the completion handler, because we don't want to trigger the problem with this call. Let's see if we can. Okay. Line 20, the key has no value. What's going on here? Ah, of course. I misspelled file name. Ugh. Okay, it looks like i7 will not be able to stream after me today because they're not feeling well. That's too bad. Okay, so we are able to get main to load. Hooray! Now, we're still not seeing this should not be called, being called. Excellent. Let's go ahead and go one step further. So let's go ahead and have an init function file. And in this, it will be very similar. In fact, we can go ahead and immediately just put our turbine and UI stuff in there. And we're going to do one more file. And this is going to be the tester class, testing class. All right, tester class. Okay, so import tester class. And this is where we'll go ahead and tuck this away. So we've got a class, we've got a couple of functions, excellent. And so the only thing we need to do here is import, and we're just going to do just enough. Of course, tester, I still need the full path. So tester.tester.tester class. All right, tester.tester. So we should see a utility, a little debug statement here. So turbine.shell.writeLine, tester class loaded, exclamation point. There we go. Let's give this a try and see, A, did that work? It did not. And B, okay. So what did Exo say? I do an import of that in main. Awesome. So how's my pathing working? It's not, because I called it testing, because I have needless name variations, which is just going to cause me problems. All right, let's give that a try. Okay, and we're going to need that same path change in the init file. This is why I don't like typing anything. I just like copy pasting from something that I know is correct. Saves me a bunch of trouble. Okay, so that is loaded. So we can see tester class got loaded. We can see main. What we still don't see is a replication of the issue that Exo was having. All right, Exo, what else? Exo says, you say needless naming variation, but I've ended up with effect on effect on effect at one point. Yeah, well, that way you know it's an effect. Okay, so Exo, I haven't replicated this yet. What else are we missing? Is this how you have it? You have a function that you're calling, or do you just have bare code that you're calling? Is is there just code in main, not inside of a function? That's easy enough to test, of course. We can just go ahead and do this. Go ahead and comment all this out while we wait for Exo to maybe chime in with anything else. Okay, that did not replicate the problem. What else do we have? Okay, we don't need that, we don't need that. All right, tester class. What are we missing? Code outside of a function. All right, easy enough. Oh, excellent. There's a snippet of the code. I'm just glancing at that code right now. So you've got an import statement. You go ahead and do some stuff. Disable the in-game vitals. Yeah, sure, why not? Can't go wrong with that. Hope you don't mind me sharing some of this code on the stream. Okay, you've got an if load data call. I gotta ask, why are you calling load data twice, and what does load data do? But we're not seeing a bunch of stuff here. Or, okay, so if you try to load, okay, you load it, otherwise you get generate default settings, and then you do it again. Generate settings equals generate default settings, and then you do load. Okay. Nothing too weird here. Almost ready for release. Nice. Okay. Just in case these functions muck things up a little bit, I am going to need that LOTRO. Turbine.ui.LOTRO is very important for messing with turbine.ui.LOTRO stuff. Cool. Now what I'm curious about, yes, all right. So LOTRO knows that that UI has been commandeered. All right, so that doesn't seem to be related though. And I guess the other thing is you probably don't have these writing out statements, so we can go ahead and unload those. I was really hoping to get some subtlety going on here, but right now, so what we were hypothesizing in the Discord chat was that by failing to put a parameter here for the plugin data.load, we were somehow getting the last declared function. So I guess that would be a thing, is I'm declaring some stuff here. Let's go ahead and not put any declarations here. We'll sacrifice readability for a minute. Failed to resolve package. That's different. Failed to resolve package blank. That just doesn't make sense to me. But it goes away if I explicitly pass nil. Okay, I think we're onto something here. Okay. That's so weird. I'm getting a runtime error instead. Failed to resolve package, which I don't understand. But it is definitely being triggered by this load line. What's interesting to me is if I do a function main, and I do it, go ahead and do a turbine.shell.writeLine. Exo is volunteering to drop the plugin into Discord. I guess the question is, are you still seeing the error in your plugin? Because yeah, I'd be happy to muck about with it if I can just drop the files in. I thought it would be easier to trigger whatever the combination is. Main. You can, yeah, okay, yeah. If you don't mind dropping a zip into Discord, I'll play with it live. Always a great time. Okay, so what happens if I declare a function right before this load? Still nothing. What happens if I move this into the function? Yeah, it's fine. So Exo, stop writing code at the file scope. Your code should be in functions. No, but seriously, don't do that. All right. Let's see. We got a. Oh no, potentially dangerous. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, so we're going to go ahead and extract this zip file. Hopefully you didn't send me too many viruses in there. Excellent. And we can see Exo plugins, Athelos. Let's go ahead and get that in here. So we're going to go ahead and abandon the mockup I was doing and just go ahead and pull in Exo plugins. Awesome. And now we're going to go ahead and close these files. Unload. Let's go ahead and remember to hit that green arrow to reload. Awesome. And then, all right. So Athelas. Ooh, that is pretty. I gotta ask, the animation on the back, is that all manual stuff? Are you manually doing that, or is there some built-in LOTRO function for putting a scrolling effect like that on an image? I'd assume you're just doing that in an update call where you're just shifting the background image over by some amount. But it looks really pretty. Manual? Okay, nicely done. It's very smooth. I like the text in the background as well. Very nice. It's a good woody kind of texture in the bars there for the green and the blue, the power and the morale. It moves 1,000 pixels left, then shifts back to loop. Nice. You have 1,000 pixel wide image. That is awesome. This is very pretty. Oh, and you got the targets. Okay, I'm just going to preview your stuff to people. I hope you don't mind. Okay, you got a very nice target bar as well. Okay, and you can still interact with it. That is gorgeous. I really like the high res version of the class icon here. Oh, hey, there's a button. Okay, that's off topic. Okay, so, sorry, stealing Exo's thunder here. Kudos to Exo. All right, so let's come on back in here. Oops, wrong window. Let's come into plugins, Exo, Athelas, and they said utils. Okay, line 131. Awesome. So, what I'm very interested in seeing here is, first of all, having already chatted about this, I know it's in logo, so we're going to go ahead and pull open logo. And the very last thing in here, just for fun, logo, nope. And same thing here, turbine dot shell dot right line should not be called. Okay, so what we did was not explicitly pass nil here. And we're going to go ahead and unload and reload. Oh, so good. Okay, so we can see replicated here. This function we said should not be called, which we never call, is being somehow captured as the callback function for turbine.plugin.data.load. Now, what is impressing me here is this code right here is not at file level, but load data is being called from, I'm guessing, main. And that is at file level. Okay, so my first question here is, okay, so you're doing some definitions here. You have a function here. So what happens if we have function main and main? Unload, reload. It is not called. So something about the function being called from file scope is where my head is going. So we're doing a load data. Now, of course, I don't think the disabling of the UI matters here. Let's go look at your init file. It's a very standard looking init file. What happens if there's a new line at the end of your init file? Just out of curiosity. Still happens. Okay. I didn't think that should matter, but yeah, nice to double check. So you're calling a function from file scope, and that function is doing the call. Now, what's interesting to me is you're calling load table on the results of this call. And something I'll sometimes do is split out a nested call like this. So local load result equals that, and then pass that in as the parameter to the next function. For me, this can sometimes clarify things, but it makes me very curious. Do we still get this? We do not. Okay. Why not? Okay, that was just the splitting that out into two lines. See, like, I've already spotted like 2 or 3 things about my general coding style that cause this to not happen. It's wild. All right. Code like me, and you'll never have this problem like Exo has, apparently. You'll have different problems, for sure. Okay, should not be called, is called. Split it out into separate lines. It's not called. Oh, I love this. I love this. It is almost certainly a bug somewhere, but I love it. Okay. Okay, should not be called is active. Okay, so that's so good. So it's not the call to turbine.plugin.load that is itself sufficient. There's a function called load table, which is also in the mix. Now, gotta ask, how much does it matter that load table is doing anything? Is it just the function call itself? So we're gonna go ahead and load. Should not be called. Oh, so good. So calling a function with the result of this is that sufficient? I'm regretting closing those other files now. Okay, we're gonna go back and try to get this minimally reproducing. So this is Lord of the Rings Online, plugins, testing. So Knuckle in chat, sorry if that's not the right pronunciation, has entered the giveaway. So by the way, there is a giveaway running. It's probably about time for that to be closed and given away. Thanks to Little Redhead for posting the reminder. I'd completely forgotten about it. So if you're watching and you haven't yet hit ! Giveaway, go ahead and do that. Get in there. It's for 100 LOTRO points that you can apply on any account that you have access to. Thank you, Little Redhead. And Knuckles said, how do you get started doing this? I just want to make a few mods for adding sounds to different types of chat, kin fellowship, and an auto-hide chat window when no activity. So one of the important things about doing plugins in Lord of the Rings Online is that there are only some parts of the UI and some things that you can do in a plugin. You don't have access to everything. There's API documentation. And the online version, I've got some downloaded here on my computer, but the online version, here I'll go ahead and link into chat. And so there's a constrained sandbox in which a plugin developer can work. One thing I would say is in this page, the how-to guide that's writing LOTRO Lua plugins for noobs by Garen is amazing. It's a masterclass in getting started. So I would definitely recommend, if you haven't already, read through this. Like, read through it twice. It's great. Garen did a fantastic job, and anyone else who contributed on that thread also, it's great. So that's, if you're at all familiar with programming, this is the place I would recommend, beyond some of my own blog posts about it. So Life Beyond the Shire. You can also check out a few introductory things that are a little bit more targeted, like let's draw a window on a screen and see stuff happening. So plugging along, basic user interfaces. Oh, here's a folder here. So I'll go ahead and link that as well. If you find those maybe a little bit easier to read, they've got some screenshots, they've got samples of code, just get you up to speed on some basic stuff, including some links to how to download documentation and so on. So I would recommend the writing LOTRO Lua plugins for noobs is just the authoritative resource. But if the other one helps you, awesome. Oh, I just remembered. If I upload this to YouTube, those links are going to persist unless I make them persist. So let me just copy those off there before I forget about it. Awesome. Okay, so that's a thing. And so, for instance, as Exo says, there's no sound player in the LOTRO API, so you can't, within the confines of the game, do that. But Prime has released a plugin that takes advantage of chat monitoring, where you can right-click on a tab and chat logging, say, start logging. And every time there's a write to chat, that gets written out to a file pretty quickly thereafter. And so they have a standalone third-party application that runs that just monitors that chat log, and so you can use that as a workaround, and their sound player does exactly that, where it looks for a specific thing in chat, triggers a sound based off of that. So you could absolutely take that as inspiration or possibly even modify it. Okay, and then you also said auto hide the chat window with no activity. That's an interesting idea. Now, one of the things about this chat window is that all of the stuff going into chat is stuff that is available to plugins. And I haven't seen this done, but I think it would be possible for a plugin to recreate the chat window in such a way where you could have it auto hide. And then you would just need to take your normal chat window and make it like really small in a corner or something, change the opacity to completely clear. But you might be able to have a plugin replace the view of it. But sending chat out might still be difficult because plugins by default can't do that, to my knowledge. Okay, Nako says, I think the add-on you were just caused me to have all kinds of screen lockups. Well, the one I'm looking at right now is Atlas, which hasn't been released yet, but Exo is working on it. But the Vitals plugin, now it's a good reminder that these plugins are written by volunteers, and those volunteers generally test it on their machine. But every once in a while, you can have a plugin just go out into the world that just doesn't work quite right for other people, from not loading because they forgot a file to having some sort of performance issue that they're not seeing. For instance, if I'm developing on a really good computer and someone uses it on a not so good computer, they might be like, hey, your plugin really slows down my system, and I just never see it. Yeah, sometimes a plugin just isn't working great for you, and that can happen. On the LOTRO interface page, there's a place down below where you can comment, and it could be useful for you to say, hey, I'm having the following problems on whatever plugin that is, perhaps Vitals. Hey, I'm having the following problems. Do you have any suggestions? And it might be the kind of thing where the plugin author didn't even realize that it could be a problem because they've only ever seen it on their machine. I've certainly had that. Wait, how do I strike this button? There we go. I've certainly had that with my development where it works fine on my machine. Someone else loads it, and nope, not so much. It's the nature of doing this kind of development. We're usually doing it by ourselves. Maybe there's a generous community of a small group of people who will test the thing for you before it goes public. But oftentimes you just shoot it out into the ether and hope it works. Okay, so thank you for a good question there, and I'm gonna see if I can pull over what we've seen here in the Atlas and try to replicate it where we are now. So we've got a tester class, and what we want is right here. Awesome. Tester class is standing in for logo. We've got we need a util class. Well, we don't need one, but we're gonna have one. So let's go ahead and have util.lua. And in our init, we want to go ahead and remember to load it. So import testing.testing.util. Okay. And in util, we're going to have a whatever it was. We're going to streamline this down a little bit, but load data. Okay. We're going to take in a scope and a file name. Awesome. And we're going to call load table. And for that, we're just going to go ahead and okay, so we have this. We're going to go ahead and pass in scope and file name. Awesome. That's all we need from util, I think. So at that point, our main, we want to go ahead and call that function. So let's go ahead and get into our main over here in the testing class. And we're going to get rid of this function here. And we're going to just go ahead and get rid of the conditional as well. We just want to call load data. And I'm going to replace the name. Oh, Atlas settings is actually there. You know what? Just for curiosity, I'll replace it with something else. And bam. So that's my new minimal setting. I'm doing a load data. I'm calling the function. And in there, it's going to be calling a different function. And I'm hoping we can reduce this down even further. But for now, we just need it to get happening. Oh no, it was called! Awesome! Oh, Exo, I'm so excited with this. Okay, so what can we do to streamline this? Well, first of all, does it need to be in another file? So what happens if we define things here? Load data 2, load table 2, load table 2. Awesome. So what happens if we just declare stuff here? It's not even in another file. Unload, load. It was called. Oh, that's so fun. Okay, and not because the problem with making mods takes away from time I could be playing. Absolutely, there is always sort of a push and pull for me of I could be playing the game or I could be playing the meta game of making a plugin. So that's a question that everyone's going to answer for themselves. How much time is each one worth? For me, sometimes I can follow other people in a fellowship while I'm doing some code, but a lot of times it's just, I'd really love to have this thing in the game, but it doesn't exist, so I'll make it. And that's where the deed tracker came from, which was one of mine. Where it's I would really like to have something in game instead of a spreadsheet out of game. And a few dozen/100 hours later, done. Lord Zach says, "Hey, hello, welcome to chat." Oh, I think Little Redhead has walked away from the computer, but there is a giveaway that's about to be closed when she gets back. So type !giveaway to be entered into the giveaway for 100 LOTRO points. All right, so we have a tester class. Do we need this to be in its own thing here? Could we go ahead and just combine it all into a single one? Okay, so we don't need the util, don't need the tester class. Are we doing anything with turbine.u.lotro? No. Okay, what about now? No. Okay, interesting. Okay, I think that was too aggressive. So let's go ahead and close the exo ones. I think we don't need that right now. Okay, so we have these functions here, which means util no longer needs to be loaded. All right, let's double check our assumptions. I know it was called. Excellent. Okay, load data, load. Okay. Okay, giveaway is being closed. Hey, congratulations, Exo. This episode has been sponsored by Exo's Problems. Whoops, no, I don't want to set up speech recognition. I don't know what I did to make that happen. Okay, so we're still importing these things, including the tester class. And what I think we just saw, what happens if we don't import tester class? Does it just go off the rails? Doesn't seem to do anything. Okay. And what happens if tester class is not actually a class? Does it need to be a class? What if it was just function? And in fact, I can copy the rest of this. Okay, unload, reload. No, interesting. What if can I just turbine dot shell dot? Can I put it into an already existing? Okay, that'll do it. So it's the act of being, well, sorry, no. A function that is a class function is enough to trigger this. But that means we can simplify this down more. So load, okay, we're still getting that. Exo, I'm sure you're already familiar with this, but for anyone who's not, if you click on the LOTRO store button down here, you can click on the redeem code entry along the top, and then paste a redemption code in here for whatever it is. So, for instance, the current coupon code for the week is Delve Deep. So you can go ahead and hit that, hit apply, and you get whatever it was. Fantastic. Looks like they don't render font codes correctly in this preview. Let's go ahead and just get a screenshot of that for a bug report. Okay. Awesome. So, scroll of perfect crafting lore. Let's just toss that into crafting maybe. No, I would really like you to stack with at least one of those other ones. Silly binding differences. Oh well. Good thing I have some spare space. Okay. I got a little chat here. Yes, so getting paid for your problems. Exactly. Thank you. And hopefully you got Little Redhead's Whisper. LoadZack says, my LOTRO store has been opening an external browser recently. Did they fix that? I believe there's actually an option for that. Let me just search external. If you do a search for external, you may have external store checked in your options. Look under UI settings, external store. If that is checked, it will try to launch it in an external browser. If it is not, I think once upon a time there was an issue with Steam needing to or always getting forced into external browser. So I guess I would say, how are you launching your game? I'm just doing mine from a non-Steam, just normal Windows environment. Cool. Okay, I'm caught up on chat. Awesome. You're using LOTRO Launcher. Okay, so check that setting and see if it's accidentally gotten checked. Oh, if it is not visibly checked, a thing that you can do, and this is true for a lot of programs out there, is sometimes there can be a discrepancy between the UI and the internal state. And so if you check it to say, yes, external store, save, close the window, come back in, check it to say, no, external store, save, close, that can be a way to realign the UI with the internal tracking. So if you're getting an external store without that being checked, just go ahead and cycle it, save, close, come back in, and bring it back to the off state. And hopefully, if there was a mismatch, that clears it up. Okay, so we have simplified this down to just a class function, but not one of our classes. Whoops, pressed escape one too many times. Let's come on back in. Uninstall, or unload, reload. Cool, I'll know what it's called. Okay, what else do we need? Okay, there was that. My second question is, does it need to be in another file? So let's go ahead and, okay, that was not sufficient, but does the import statement do something weird? Let's go ahead and move that down to the bottom of the file. No. Okay, so it looks like there's something about it being in another file. Fun. So we have a class function being defined in one file. I think that's been reduced to as a small of a reproducible example as it can be. Now, in our main, what do we have? We are calling a function that calls another function with the results of this. Do we need all that? What if instead of calling it load data, we called load table directly? So load table 2 with this. And I guess we'll need that scope and file name. Let's take a look. Yeah, what if we just call that directly? Unload, load. No, that wasn't enough. Interesting. Do we need the scope just somehow be declared ahead of time, being passed as a variable? Doesn't seem like that would be necessary. Local, whatever that was, file name. No. That is still an old oh no. Out of curiosity, if I added this to the file, is that Okay. It's not breaking the previous brokenness. So this is still causing the thing. But what else are we missing? Do we? What if scope is out of the picture here? So what if we're passing scope and file name here? I'm trying to make sure I spell them differently from the parameters to load data. In fact, those don't need to be load data 2 anymore because we're no longer using the util file. Oh, that I do need to change all of them though. Oh, that doesn't reproduce. Excellent load sec. I don't think he knows about second load table. What about load data 2? Yeah. Okay, so hoisting the values being passed into variables is enough to make this not happen. Now, this feels like a Heisenberg, the kind of thing where you just poke at it and it disappears, and then it comes back. But Lua is a weird language, and in my head, I'm very used to more structured languages like C++, C#, and the way it deals with missing parameters, I think should not be causing it should not result in this, but it's very interesting. Okay, so the answer is if we go ahead and bring back the one with the explicit parameters, that we're going to see. Oh no, I've changed one too many things. Oh, scope and file name themselves are being declared, so they're disrupting what was recently declared. Okay, so you can't have declared a variable before this, or else that doesn't work. Fun. Actually, hang on. What if you declare the variables before the import statement? That should be fine because it's still then the class function in question is still the last imported. Yep. Okay. So that should be a reproduction then. And it is. Okay, so it's not the inline declarations here at all. I'm going to go ahead and remove these declarations here. Exo says, honestly, it's really impressive. I triggered the error considering just how many things had to go wrong for it to happen. I wouldn't say it had to go wrong. I would say that there's so many things that cause I don't even think this is memory corruption, but the memory layout. There's so many things that cause the memory layout to end up in a different way. Almost certainly what's going on is it's saying, oh, was that parameter a function? Okay, call the function. And there's so many things that could be in memory that don't resolve to a function, like those variables I'm declaring at the file level. And so, yeah, that's, hang on. Local test function equals function, and just out of curiosity, turbine.shell.writeLine, oops, all functions. Okay, unload, reload. Okay, that didn't do it, but what if we did, again, turbine.shell.testFunction? Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's still the other file is somehow coming into play. So interesting. Okay, so what do we see here? It doesn't matter about the values being passed inline or via a variable, but the variables had to have been declared not as that last thing before this is happening. We're calling a function with the result of another function in which we are not passing all of the parameters that the function accepts. And somehow that is combining for Lua 5.1 embedded version to resolve this final parameter implicitly as the last thing that was declared. But only in the case of this being a class function, because again, if we do the exact same function that's not a class function, Oh no, class function was called. If we go ahead and comment out this one. Oh no. Oh, sorry. Class function. And this one is function. Yes. So it's not doing it as a normal function, just as a class function, which is exciting to me. Now, the way classes are done here, I believe we're looking at the turbine class file for how to do classes. And I guess it wouldn't surprise me if there was a bug in this code that was being tripped by this. Lord Zach says, wow, putting code before imports. I've never done that. Yeah, this is, my mental model of this, could be wrong, is that the parser starts at the first line and just does each thing. And an import is just a, hey, pause here, go do this process on another file, and then come back here. I'm thinking like this, the C preprocessor is my mental model for this. So if anyone knows how Lua does its file loading and has a correction for that, yes, please speak up. But that's my mental model, is just line by line, execute lines of code. Oh, we have a function definition, save that off. Oh, we have a class definition, save that off. Oh, cool, another line of code, execute it. And so that's my mental model, is when we're in here in main, okay, we have a variable. Okay, we have a variable. Oh, put a pin in that, come into the init file. Oh, put a pin in that, come into the turbine. Okay, done with that. UI, LOTRO, tester class. Okay, we're done with that. Come on back into main and just keep on executing. Okay, we got a function, we got a function. We got a line of code to execute. So that's how I think of this. Now I think in reality, Lua will do some pre-compiling into like bytecode or like it's not just doing the script naively, but that's my model for it. So it wouldn't surprise me if this wasn't a problem with Lua, but perhaps a problem with the how this class definition is working, which I have not looked at and probably don't understand. I'm going to glance at it for a sec, because I haven't really spent a lot of time in here. I wonder. Okay, so we have a call to a turbine.plugin.load function here. What if it was one of our functions? What if we had a function load, and that took our own scope key and handler. And really, the only thing we care about here is if type of handler equals function, then I think this is correct code. I'm going to have to see if it loads. Then handler, call that as a function, right? So first of all, does that code do anything? Okay. So instead of load table, let's just call, instead of turbine plugin load, let's go ahead and call our load. Although we are going to want to return a table here, because plugin.load should return the table. Okay, can we get this to replicate? Oh, no, because it crashed. Okay, type of is not the right. Excellent. Type of variable. What do you got for me, internet? Type. Oh, just type. Okay. I think type of is actually a C# thing. Whoops. Okay, that didn't do it. Interesting. Oh, right, because again, that's... Can't have that be the last thing. I'm so used to writing things after those import statements. Lord Zach is exactly correct. It's so weird.
Okay, so we're getting called load, but I guess this stuff in different files things seems to be important. So let me move this load function over here. Okay, so replacing turbine plugin data load with a do nothing function that just tries to call a handler if it's available. I guess the question is, what happens if we try to call it anyway? I assume, yeah, no. That's exactly right. So this is a good example that code we write and code that we're calling from the LOTRO side of things isn't necessarily playing by the same rules. When we call a turbine function, I would expect that to be written in C, maybe C++, and on the other side of marshalling code that gets things from Lua over to their side of things. Now, that's not necessarily how it works. That's just, again, how my mental model is. And so when you call turbine.plugin.load, I don't expect that to be Lua code that's running there. So the marshaller tries to assign parameters to arguments, sends things over to C++ side, and stuff is done. Or C side. That's what's in my head. And I'm guessing that we're not going to be able to get this to replicate because in Lua function to Lua function with a mismatch of arguments, it just knows how to do that. But calling a LOTRO function, which is probably on the other side of a marshaller, maybe not. Okay, so I think I've narrowed this down in my head to what's going on here. I guess the last thing is we didn't get a direct call. This here we did not get to trigger the problem. And, an extra function call just doesn't feel like it should. Oh, was I declaring scope and file name though? Okay. No. So this is very strange to me. Load data with scope and file name, but actually doing the call ourselves, no. But we're doing something with the return value, so local result equals. Nope. That's just so weird to me. Okay. So calling a function, which itself calls a function with the result of a turbine-defined function, so on the other side of a barrier probably, is causing problems in a way that we're just not seeing in any number of other configurations. And this seems like a really interesting edge case that I would almost call a bug, because this should not be undefined behavior, and it really feels like we're in undefined behavior land. Yeah, that's fascinating. So, Exo, thanks so much for bringing this to my attention. It's remarkable how specifically you needed to write your code to get this to happen. Now, as we've already seen, there's a number of ways to solve this problem. So the first of all is just explicitly declare your parameter. That will prevent garbage on the stack from being used instead. The second is, okay, so let me document this. 1, pass nil for your third parameter. 2, declare literally anything but a class function immediately prior to calling a turbine function. Turbine function with a missing parameter. Callback parameter. Okay, what else do we have? I guess it's more like a 2A. Not doing code at file level seems to get this for free. What else do we have? And by not doing code at file level, I mean, well, we're not really, well, this load data call is. So if I were to do function main and do load data in here, I would expect triggers bug. I would expect this not to trigger the bug. Let's give that a try. Oh, hey. That did do it. No, that's still, I didn't actually comment that out. Okay. So yes, that triggers the bug, does not trigger. So we have embedding the code in a function declaration, probably because the function declaration itself is messing with what's available on the stack. Yeah, so doing this in a function, not having any code at file level, great. Explicitly passing the null parameter, not my favorite, but you can do it. Just by accident, don't have a class function as your last thing. Exo says, option 24601, play music from Les Mis. Yeah, I'm not sure that this could be used in any productive way other than to call a function that you could already be calling anyway, but this is fascinating. Okay, I think I am not seeing anything else that deserves an exploration here. I think, yeah. So, what do we have? We have to reproduce. Call a function that calls a function with the result of a turbine function that isn't past a callback parameter and have declared a class function immediately prior. A class function. Did we see it working in this class? In another file immediately prior to the call. I think that's kind of it. Now, I think we saw that this function had to be in another class for whatever reason. Let me just double check with that here. Yeah. That's strange. So that's it. So call a function that calls a function with the result of a turbine function that isn't passed a callback parameter as the final optional parameter, question mark, and have declared a class function in another file immediately prior to the call. That is apparently what it takes to reproduce this thing, because every time I tweaked one of those properties, it stopped happening. So congratulations, Exo. Your prize for discovering this bug is 100 LOTRO points, I guess. Okay, that is bonkers. But I think I'm done with it. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns on that one before I move on to other things? Because, my goodness, I think I'll pause for some water. Okay, hearing nothing on that. That is wild. Okay, to resolve. Oh, actually, we can kind of reverse engineer this. If you're calling a turbine function, yeah, you can go ahead and pass an explicit parameter. Yeah, that. Oh, you can also store the result of the turbine call before passing it to the other function. That also stopped it. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste that over into the plugin development Discord server. And call that a fun investigation. Now, this wasn't something that I really needed to do. It was just I found this a fascinating bug that Exo was doing. Exo had already found the workaround of passing nil explicitly, so this wasn't a dire issue. But I was very curious what the extent of the problem was, what the shape of it was, how likely is someone to fall into the pit of despair here. And the answer is you have got to be like, you've got to have a compass and a map and some local guides to find this particular pit. All right, fascinating. Thank you again, Exo. Okay, so on to something which I've been wanting to do for a little while, but just kept getting caught up, which is we have the MinstrelBuff plugin. So I'm going to go ahead and load this thing up. In case you are not familiar with the MinstrelBuff plugin, it is a handy way for tracking your ballads and anthems and a few other things that I've added on over the past few months. So we can see some ballads being tracked. I'll go ahead and do some anthems now that I have 3 ballads. Awesome. So MinstrelBuff plugin. If you are a redline minstrel, then you have access to the freedom trait. And that's over here on the left here. And freedom gives you a 10% chance for most of your offensive abilities that are not ballads to give you the effect Melodic Interlude. And when Melodic Interlude starts, I want to pop up. That's the effect that allows a redline minstrel to, in fact, heal members of their fellowship. And I want to go ahead and, let's see. Sorry, I was expecting that button to do something. I want to go ahead and show the healing abilities that you have available to you. Okay, Melodic Interlude window is here. Awesome. Oh, I do need to enable it by clicking Show Melodic Interlude. Awesome. Cool. So, starting it, right now we just have a green window with the 10-second timer during which Melodic Interlude is active. And again, that allows you to do a single heal on a friendly target. And that includes yourself. If you heal yourself, which you can always do during Melodic Interlude, that cancels the Melodic Interlude. So watch out for that. But what I want to do is go ahead and add Raise the Spirit and Chord of Salvation to that window. Cool, so that's the goal. Let's go ahead and close down Sublime Text, and instead we're going to go ahead and close a couple of other windows that have crept open here. We're going to go ahead and open up a Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a free program, and you can use the Lua and LOTRO API extensions to get IntelliSense for the turbine stuff. Highly recommended. Okay, so we're done with setting. Let's go back to Melodic Interlude window and add those skills. Awesome. I don't know how to do that, so we're going to be learning this together. So what I want to do is add Raise the Spirit and Chord of Salvation. Fun. Now, I did get some suggestions from the developer community. We're going to be using quick slots and shortcuts. Rolo mentioned I can figure it out on stream by creating a quick slot and dragging a shortcut in it. Then play around with the events and info you can get based on that action. Cool. Let's give it a try. Really, I need to build an intuitive understanding of how do shortcuts and quick slots and all that work, and what's the difference between a shortcut and a quick slot. I don't know. So we'll get started here. So what I have is a window here. I'm going to go ahead and add something to that window so that I can display it kind of at will. Now this is going to be a fixed thing. It's not going to change based on the state of everything. It's just going to be visible or not visible. All right. So that's where we're at. We're going to come in here to the Explorer and come on into the Melodic Interlude window. Awesome. Now, we had played around with some stuff that didn't work last time. I'm not going to delete it yet. I want to kind of, when I have something that's working, I want to circle back around and say, what was I doing here wrong? So we have a turbine.ui.lotro quick slot, I believe. Yes, we do. Let's take a look at this. Is there any sample? Not seeing a sample. Sometimes the documentation has some samples. All right, so let's go ahead and make one of these. So we are going to have a self dot quick slot equals a turbine.ui dot LOTRO dot quick slot. Awesome. Now, from the methods, we can see there's just, we can see this is deriving from a control. And it has the additional functions. Get shortcut is used on right click, set shortcut, and set use on right click. Okay, so we have those four on top of whatever controls have. Great. So we can do what we would normally do for a control. So I'm going to assume we want to go ahead and call set parent on the self. Let's see, what else do we have? We're going to go ahead and say set size. That sounds like a good thing to set. And self set position. Actually, right now I don't want to move it around, so we'll call it 0, 0. Lord Zach, you can't be your own dad. Maybe you can't. Good point. I've typed self dot, but that should really be self dot quick slot in each of these. Otherwise, we're not going to get very far. Thanks for calling that out. Excellent. So self dot quick slot, we have some stuff here. Let's just load it up and see what happens. So unload, load, and we're going to come into options and start. Awesome. We've got a thing here. So a suggestion was, what if we drag a skill in here? So raise the spirit and drag that in. Cool. Now we've got a box. Now what I'm seeing is that box is actually not quite big enough. That's fun. So first thing, let's go ahead and change that to be more like 36. Start and drag that in. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, and I can just use it. Neat. Okay, let's do that again. Okay, so first of all, we want to go ahead and rename that so that is not just quick slot, but that is raise the spirit quick slot. And we'll go ahead and copy that, paste it in. But again, we're just going to multi-edit that. Instead of raise the spirit, that is chord of salvation quick slot. But we do want to go ahead and set that position to be more like 40 over. In fact, that initial set position, let's go ahead and move it over a little bit. So let's just move it like 2 over, 2 down, and it'll be 40 over, 42 over and 2 down. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so we could imagine a UI that, let's see. So we just need the healing and motivation section of my skills. Awesome. So we have raise the spirit. We have a chord of salvation. So this is what I imagine it's going to look like. In fact, what happens if I hide and show? Awesome. They're still there. Oh, that actually looks really cool. I'm not sure about the green background. I think that needs to be a little bit more transparent. Exo points out, now have some real fun, start adding some stretch mode in. I am not there yet, Exo. I still need to figure out how to pre-populate this shortcut. This is baby steps here. But yes, you can use stretch mode to make these icons appear bigger, which is kind of tempting. So hang on, to do. Use a stretch mode to make them bigger than 36 by 36. Thanks, XO. Okay. Cool. So we have 2 of these things. If you drag the skill in, we have what we're looking for here. But what I don't have is a sense of what's in there. So we have get shortcut. Awesome. We can get a shortcut out of that. Okay, let's do that. How am I going to know that there is a shortcut on there? It's a good question. And so I think, yeah, we're looking at quick slot set shortcut. And now I do know the travel window plugin has the ability to show a grid of, or a carousel or whatever of skills, and lets you click on them. So let's go ahead and bring that in. Travel window. Go. Great. I'm using the LOTRO plugin compendium to easily and correctly install that. And then we'll come on back in and load that up. Excellent. Now I just have to remember, where does that suitcase come in? Oh, there it is. Okay. Cool. So we have, again, skills that can be clicked on. You can click and drag from here, which is always fun. It's a little strange sometimes. But yeah, I'm very curious to go look at that code for a minute. So let's create a new window here. We're going to come on in. LOTRO Learning's plugins, that is Travel Window 2 and Source. And then what do we have here? I don't know. So let's go ahead and do a search where we're going to go ahead and just do a recursive search. Add folder. Yep. And we know we're looking for a LOTRO.QuickSlot. LOTRO.QuickSlot. Okay. Area door map window? Oh, I don't even remember what that is. All right. Open area door map. Oh, that's fun. Apparently those aren't working right now. That's okay. Cool. So I'm not going to worry about the maps. Travel grid. Oh, carousel and grid. Yes, awesome. I use grid, so that's what I'm mostly familiar with. Okay, so we're creating a quick slot. Thunder needs my aid. Not on this server, it doesn't. We're just barely getting into Siege of Mirkwood category. Okay, and then we have attempt to create a shortcut. So we're going to go ahead and self.quickslots set shortcut of a shortcut. Awesome. So we want to hoist that out. And we want, now we can do the same thing. We can do a p call just in case, but it's probably going to be working. And that's, if you quadruple click, it just selects everything. That's not helpful. Okay, so instead of self.quickslots, it's going to be self.raisethespirit quickslot. And we're just going to call set shortcut. But what we don't have is the raise the spirit shortcut. And that's a thing that we need. So what is calling add item? So let's go ahead and see what we can find here. So add item. Let's go ahead and actually add item, open parenthesis. All right. So options, no. Travel, get, grab tab. Okay, excellent. Travel shortcuts. Where do you get that? All right, open, no. Where does that come from? Don't know, but that's the thing that I want. Okay, lots of iterating through those shortcuts. Cool, here's where the table's getting defined. And here's where we're inserting a shortcut. Okay. Right, and this is where I kind of ran into trouble last time I was looking at this, is Travel Window is using an intermediary class, the travel shortcut, which is itself a type of shortcut. So we should be able to infer what's going on here. All right. What is going on with set data? Oh, that's a good point. What is a shortcut, and how do we deal with that? Shortcut methods. We have set data. Awesome. So set data is very compelling. So that second parameter here of the constructor, that's what I'm interested in. Okay, what's a gen locations? Yeah, Raka, absolutely. Control A to select everything seems quicker than a quadruple click. Also, why, like, triple click, I will agree. Single click is great. Double click for selecting a word, a conceptual chunk. Okay, that's cool. Triple click to select a whole line. I do occasionally use that. But I feel like there needs to be an end. Like, what's next? Quintuple clicking to select everything in every file? I don't know. It just seems unnecessary. Yeah, we already have Control A. We don't need. In fact, Sublime Text doesn't do quadruple clicking. Arthur says LOTRO does things a different way. Key call turbine UI set shortcut. Okay. With a shortcut object and. Okay, I'm curious what we have here. So you're saying we're doing a p call of set shortcut. Okay, that's what's happening here. Passing self. Okay. Self.quickslot. Yep. And shortcut. So Agartha, that just seems like a instead of doing an anonymous function to wrap this in a nicer way, you're just manually doing the object-oriented dispatching. Did I have that right? Yeah, Exo quadruple click should select the bugs. That would be a helpful feature. I like it. Okay, so we're inserting into shortcuts. We're generating a shortcut. The second thing is gen locations. All right, I'm very curious because I feel like this is it, right? This is the data that is getting passed into travel shortcut. The second thing is being passed to set data here, and that's the thing that we need. Everything else, we do need a set type. Okay, fair enough. What is set type? S type is the first thing. Okay, good to know. So we're looking for, really, 2.0? Sure, why not? Sounds great. Name, type, index, enable, and skill. Those are all customizations, specializations of the shortcut. Okay, so we need a type and a data. Great. So local raise the spirit type equals. Sure, let's call it 2.0. Check if the shortcut is in the Glen Rig map or not. Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, so maybe we're looking for 6. Cool. Local raise the spirit data equals not sure yet. Chrono says, finally catching one of these lives. Awesome. We're glad to have you. Yeah, I got there. Before that, called set type and set data. Absolutely. So we're seeing a type here. Now I'm very curious about that type. So if I just come in here, shortcut type, we can come on into the API reference on LOTRO interface, come on into LOTRO, Turbine UI LOTRO, and the shortcut type enumeration. We're looking for a skill shortcut. Awesome. So it looks like 2 is an item shortcut. I shouldn't change things, but I feel like 6.0 is needlessly complicating things. Okay, so we're going to call it a skill. Great. I feel good about that. Data, that's the trick for me because I don't know what data should look like. Okay, so gen locations. Let's find gen locations. Hey, look at that. What is a gen locations? What would you say you are here? Okay, that's an indexed dictionary. That's fascinating. Where do we have one of those? Huh. Okay, it's a class. Okay, might need to dig into that a little bit, but let's come on back in here. Oh, did I hear a cat? Fun. You want to be on stream? No? Come on. No? Okay. She is not a big fan of being picked up yet. Okay, so we have the ability to add a skill. Ah, I seem to be in the German version of this. Fascinating. Let's come into Index Dictionary English. It'll make that a little bit easier. Okay, so we have locations, add skill, the name of it, the hex code as a string, and then I assume the hover text. Or vice versa. Okay, so add skill, we have name, ID, and label. Okay. Cool, okay, this is starting to be plausible. Okay, so we're adding did I go one too many? Okay, set data. Okay, it was travel shortcuts. Where did that come from? There we go. So we're looking for the ID at index. All right, good. Index. What's an ID at index? Okay, so we're getting a string. We're getting data based on that string, and we're just returning the data. Okay, great. Okay, so we can see the skill IDs. Let's go into, let's not do that. Add skill. I need to hoist that out because that's very important here to understanding what's going on here. Okay, so we have an add skill, and then we needed the get skill. ID and index. Okay, so help me out here, plugin. ID at index. So we're getting skill names. Okay, so we add a skill. Skill names. Really? Oh, okay. So we're inserting the name into that list. Okay, cool. Why? Okay, so it's just the index, the ordered list of names. Okay, so we're going to get the name of it. Now, skill IDs, we're adding ID, and we're just returning the data. Okay, so it's just the hex code as a string. Awesome. That seems too easy. Let's do it. Okay, so we had previously tracked some stuff. So raise the spirit. If we go ahead and bring up a calculator and place it in programmer mode, we can paste in a decimal value, get that hexadecimal value, and go ahead and paste it in here. Lord Zach asks, German skills, yes. All sorts of things, a string to be safe, except strings. How do you find the hex code anyway? So I suspect if you call get shortcut on that quick slot and then call get data, in fact, let's do that, just in case we didn't have the values anyway. Oh, interesting. Hang on a sec. Okay, I was curious, if you change to dissonance stance, your raise the spirit turns into raise my spirit, but the shortcut is raise the spirit, but it seems to sort itself out, so that's good. Okay, so we want to call get shortcut on that. What I don't know is how to know when we have something, but controls, we can know when something is dropped on them, right? So if we come to turbine.ui and we go to control, then we can get a drag drop, fired when drag drop is completed. Cool. So for that, we can do self.raise the spirit quick slot, and we can go ahead and define drag drop equals a function with sender and args. And we can just, again, write out a nice little helper to tell us it's happened. Right line, drag drop happened, exclamation point. Let's just do that to start. And let's go ahead and comment out this other stuff we were working on. Okay. Yeah, we're unloading. I just loaded the travel window by mistake and now it's scanning all my skills. Let's not do that. Let's come back into MinstrelBuffs and go ahead and start. Cool. So if I go ahead and drop, cool, we can see drag drop happened. Awesome. So what we can do with that is we can say local shortcut equals self.raise the spirit quick slot get shortcut, and local data equals shortcut get data, right? We can also get local type equals shortcut get type. And then let's just go ahead and spit that out, right? Turbine.shell.writeLine. And we'll go ahead and say type equals type. Why not? And we'll also do a separate one for data. So unload, reload, come back in, start this up, drag raise the spirit over and drop it. Cool, drag dot happened. We can see it's type 6. That's good because we know that is a skill. We can also see that it was a raise my spirit with a code of this. And now that thing that I was talking about, what happens if it's not a raise the spirit? What happens if it's a raise my spirit? So I'm going to unload and come back in and just do a raise the spirit. And awesome. Okay, so it's using the same underlying code, it looks like, and just whatever is the current thing for the minstrel. Love it. So we can come on in here. Was it what we already had? Oops. It was 3E7D. Great. So, real question is, if we don't need this, can we make a new shortcut setting the shortcut's values with what we know? So we should be able to call shortcut with type and data. So self.raise the spirit shortcut equals turbine.ui.lotro.shortcut. And we're going to go ahead and pass. Oh, I'm not going to use 6. That's a terrible idea. Let's go ahead and local skill shortcut type skill equals 6. And then we can go ahead and pass that as the first parameter and local raise the spirit data equals this string right here. So no longer need those variables there. We have a shortcut. Data and type are being set in the constructor. So we might be able to do self.raise the spirit quick slot set shortcut. And then we'll just pass in self.raise the spirit shortcut. Now I'm not sure we need to actually save that shortcut, but we've got it. Okay, unload, reload, and go ahead and start. Oh, that's a skill. Oh, that's nice. So, a thing, we don't really want the user to be able to replace it by accident. Whoops, all Spirit of Freedom now. Agatha says, some plugins tell you the hex code when you do the drag and drop. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there's little helper plugins that will let you do that. But as we just saw, if you just want to pull out that type of that information, you can just write a fast little function to do that. So actually, I forgot to do it with the other one, with Chord of Salvation. So let's go ahead and grab Chord of Salvation. Oops. Start. Chord of Salvation. We've got the drag drop happened, and here's our hex code for Chord of Salvation. Good news, they're both skills. That'll make it easier. Local Chord of Salvation data equals. Nope. Didn't actually hit the copy. There we go. Okay, so we can do the same thing. But we do want to avoid drag and drops happening. So I don't know if I've ever done that, but let's go over to the control, turbine.ui.control, and let's look for something for set allow drop. Does it support drag and drop? I'm going to say no. So self.raise the spirit quick slot, set allow drop false. And let's see what happens there. Ideally, it will stop accepting drops. It did not. Interesting. Oh, because this is actually a quick slot. Sorry, it's the shortcut, not the quick slot. Does travel window solve this? Let's find out. Great. It does. Okay, good. So it is solvable. That's good. Let's come back into the quick slot. Is using right set. Okay, shortcut. Let's see if we missed anything. So drop, get allow drop, set allow drop. I don't see an obvious thing, but we saw that travel window solved this. So quick slot, set allow drop false. They do it twice. That's fascinating. I mean, twice to say you really mean it, I guess. Sure, why not? Wait, what? There's no way that actually worked. Why? Hang on. Okay, that's stupid. Wait. What? Do you have to do it after the setting the shortcut? Okay. I think you just had to set the shortcut first. Okay, I was going to say, if you actually need to call that twice, that is just bonkers. Phew, okay. Okay, we're going to come back in and finish this up here. We've got raise the spirit quick slot, great. We need a Chord of Salvation quick slot. So self, in fact, do we even need to save it off? Oh, why not? It's only two of them. So Chord of Salvation shortcut equals turbine.ui.lotro.shortcut, and that's a shortcut type skill, and it's a Chord of Salvation data. And same thing, we have set size position. All right, we're gonna Chord of Salvation quick slot set shortcut, and we're gonna go ahead and pass in self Chord of Salvation quick slot or shortcut, and then self Chord of Salvation quick slot set allow drop false. Oh, there is chat. Tezor in chat, are you a LOTRO dev or just a hobby programmer? I am just a fan of Lord of the Rings Online and writing plugins. I don't actually work for SSG, but I know a little bit about writing plugins. I know a little bit about Lord of the Rings Online, so if you do have questions in general, I might be able to help with that. But today we're just mucking about with the MinstrelBuff plugin and learning, and I am learning especially how to get skill shortcuts to appear on the screen. That being said, I think that is enough for both of them to show up. So let's come back in, start this up. Oh my goodness, it's there. Excellent question by Lord Back. What if you load the plugin well in the dissonant stance, where these are no longer raise the spirit and chord of salvation, but they are raise my spirit and chord of my salvation? Great question. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's pop into dissonant stance. Go ahead and load this, and then when I start this, it is raise my spirit and chord of my salvation. And if I pop on over back into resonant stance, these are still doing what we would expect them to do. Let's see. In my combat log, which is hidden behind my face, benefit with chord of salvation. And if I pop back in here, it is chord of... Wait, what was it? Oh, I'm not scrolled to the bottom. Chord of my salvation, of course. Yes, that is interesting. Chord of salvation. Exogenesis says the hex code is the same, it's just the label that changes depending on the stance. That's what I was wondering internally, like if you have advanced versions of skills, what's going on? Because it seems like advanced raise my spirit or advanced bolster my courage could maybe be different skills. And in that case, or Zach says, can we listen to stance change and rename them? I think we can. Although you will only ever be able to trigger a melodic interlude while you are in Warrior Skald. Oh, you're right. It's just a stance thing. Yes. I believe we can know which stance we're in and then just refresh the shortcuts. Probably. That's a little bit tough. Underwater tries to enter the giveaway. I think there is not currently a giveaway running. I guess there could be. Let's see. Wait. I assume there's not one running right now. Hang on a sec. Alright, so if I do a giveaway reset and a giveaway... Wait, what was it? Open? Open! Okay. It's cool, yeah. Feel free, Lunar Jump back in with a exclamation giveaway. I'll just have to remember how to do this. Okay. I'll just be careful not to put this spreadsheet on the screen that is being shared. Awesome. Yes. Awesome. It looks like we have a 100 points left. To giveaway. Neat. Oh. Well, thanks for that distraction, Lunar. Awesome. Very cool. Okay, yes. So the giveaway is opened, and it is currently for 100 LOTRO points. Awesome. Okay, so where are we with this? We have the ability to create a shortcut, the ability to put it into a quick slot, the ability to stop the user from accidentally putting something else on top of the quick slot, like so. And it seems to be fine. Now, a question I have, and I can't test it on this character, I don't think, is if there is an improved... Yeah, I don't have an improved Raise the Spirit on this character. So that is a question. Is there an improved Raise the Spirit? Or Chord of Salvation? But do those use different hex codes? So that's a thing to pay attention to. If they are different hex codes, then we can check to see if a skill is trained and key off of that. We can keep an eye out for leveling because that could change which ones are available. Fingers crossed, it's one hex code for all of them. But I could easily see where they weren't. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this drag and drop function. I want to go ahead and get rid of this p call. I'm not doing anything weird here. I think these skills should always be there, and I think it is an error if they're not. So I'm going to get rid of the p call itself. Okay, so what was I doing before? I did a shortcut. Oh, okay. So I think it was just that I was doing a set data with a number instead of a string. That was it. How embarrassing. But that was pretty much it. Okay, good to know. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those notes there. And then the final thing was we know that these values, we tracked them down from a data dump. So, Cord of Salvation, I think we're really going to want those. Oops. Oh, of course. We're going to want those in hex form. So let's just convert those over real fast. Cool. Decimal, hex, decimal. So when we looked in the data dump, these were hex codes associated with various versions of the skills. Now, the curious part of me says, why don't we just try one of these right now, see what happens? Good question, me. Let's do that. Okay, so we have 3E7B. What happens if we do something different? All right, so unload, reload. It's always possible it just crashes the game. All right, we have a raise the spirit. Okay, awesome. General error. Okay, so I asked for a raise my spirit? Okay, that just doesn't work. That is so cool. General error, and that error message is not known to me. Okay, cool. So basic answer is that's not good. Okay, does not work. Same general question I have for that. So we have a Cord of Salvation. That's the one that we're using. I don't have improved Cord of Salvation, but it's something to look out for. And then again, Cord of My Salvation, I'm guessing that's not going to work either. But just for the curious, okay, we're back to Raise the Spirit working, and Cord of My Salvation not working. Great. Okay. Improved Cord of Salvation, BC01. Yes. No. Are you sure that's improved? I got a different one. Well, either way, that's the one that's working on mine right now. So, awesome. So, obviously, this is one of those places in plugin development where it's going to be very useful to test with multiple characters, possibly different machines in general. Interesting. Thanks, Lord Zach. You Googled the error code and someone mentioned changing trait lines and then swapping back and it fixed. So, yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if under the covers, if you were in a different trait, would some of these different skills work? Fortunately, we know this can only work in the Warrior Scald trait, so that's one less testing configuration to worry about. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take these notes, move them up above where we're using them, so we find them again. Right here. So, notes on skill codes. Excellent. Well, IDs. Cool. General error. When trying to use Thunderous Roar, somehow it fixed itself by swapping to a different trait line and then swapping back. That's delightful. So, funny thing, on swapping trait lines, I had this happen, I was running an instance in Morga, I think, was I hit the trait button swap, which you can only do if you're not in combat, and it said, do you want to do this? And I said yes. And right after that, I got placed into combat by someone else who ran forward while I was still prepping. And it did a partial transition where I got a few of the skills, but not all of the skills. And I had to wait until I was out of combat to switch and switch back before it triggered the full refresh. So I could definitely see a case where you're in one stance, but you still have the skill of the old. Sorry, you're in one trait tree and you still have the skill of the old trait tree. I could see that. I haven't tried reproducing this particular problem, but anyway, so yeah, that's I could see how swapping out and back in would fix that, because the second time you swap in, you had a chance to get all of your skills. The process of switching trait trees seems to be not an all or nothing kind of thing. It just seems to be, okay, adding this, adding this, adding this, adding this, and then it just takes a second for it to all be done. So if it got interrupted partway through, it's just not done. Then you've got a weird hybrid between the two, which I think could be fascinating. If you could time that just right, is there a way you could make use of skills from one to the other? This suggests no. This suggests that there is a check in there that says, oh, you're trying to use a skill. Are you the right trait tree? Oh, you're not the right trait tree. Error. So that's fascinating. Thanks for checking on that, Lord Zach. Okay, so I wanted to have UI elements that contain skills. We have them. They work on my computer. Awesome. I do think, as suggested earlier, probably by Exo, it'd be nice if they were a little bit bigger. But first, let's go ahead and take a snapshot and then look at the clock. All right, so MinstrelBuffs. There you go. Okay, so we've gone ahead and done some changes in the melodic interlude window, and that was for these skills. Okay, so go back and add those skills. Awesome. Add Raise the Spirit and Chord of Salvation skills. Excellent, we can do that. Our snapshot message is added Raise the Spirit and Chord of Salvation skills to melodic interlude window. Great. And for that, we're going to go ahead and just take all the changes in melodic interlude window. They all look good. And not the option window. All right, let's go ahead and take that snapshot, make that commit. And then we're going to go ahead and check out what else there is. Use stretch mode to make them bigger. Let's do it. Okay, so when we're going to do that, we're going to go ahead and set Raise the Spirit quick thought, set stretch mode to something, and let's see, we're going to go ahead and do stretch mode 1, I believe. Excellent. We're going to go ahead and do a self Raise the Spirit quick thought, set size to something bigger. Let's say 48 by 48, just as a starting point. And then if you want to be, I do want to go ahead and copy that over, but we'll do it for Chord of Salvation as well. Now, I haven't actually changed the size of the window. 64. All right, you've talked me into it. Although the original was more like 36 by 36. So let's go ahead and bump that up to 72 and see what that's like. Now, I don't think the window's that big. Lord Zach says, I agree, but when I did 32 by 32, there wasn't enough space for this. All right, so let's go ahead and start this up. Oh, that's great. So 2 things. I forgot to actually space them out further aside, but you know what? Oh, is that silly? It might be silly. What I did in the Hunter Deadly Decoy plugin was I had a slider bar in the options that let you scale it up and down. And I think that might be the way to go. Borrow the slider from Hunter Deadly Decoy for icon size. Okay, so if we were to, all right, we're gonna try the 48 and see how that is. Let's fix that. Local icon size equals 48. Cool. At that point, we can just go ahead and do the spacing. So set the position is 2 plus icon size. Perfect. And now we just need to make the window large enough itself. And for that, we had a set size up here for width and window height. Window height we just had fixed here, but instead, let's go ahead and hold off on that until the end here, where we set size to, what is window height going to be? Well, it was 50, which was 32 plus some stuff, so 18. So instead, if we go ahead and do icon size plus 18, that might be good enough. Let's give it a try. Nope, that was wrong. What did I do wrong? Oh, of course. I think that set size is causing problems. That's no problem. All right, we'll go ahead and hoist up this icon size to where we can use it. It was going to be 36, so this was icon size plus 14. Let's go ahead and just see that in action. Nice. So now if we go ahead and change that to, say, 50. Excellent. Now, the width, again, is not quite right. So we want the window width, local window width, equals to that icon size times 2 plus, again, we want a little border on the little margin around the edge. So also 2 times 2, just for that little margin. And then we can use that in the set size. Okay, let's give that a try. Okay. So just a reminder, we have a giveaway for some 100 LOTRO points active in the stream. Go ahead and type !giveaway to be part of that. Except for Exogenesis, who's already won one. And we'll draw that in about 5 or so minutes. Leonardo loves the cat castle in the background. I wish our cats loved it as much as you do. They're still getting used to it. It's a Sunday toy for them. Okay, so we can see this is almost big enough. The margin on the right isn't quite right though. So let's come back in here. What are we doing here? For the first one, we're setting the size, cool, and we're setting the position to 2, okay? And then we're setting the position to 2 plus the icon size. Does that seem right? Really, it just looks like a couple pixels not big enough. So let's just add 2 in here for a minute. Yeah, that seems fine. And more importantly, if we go ahead and change this to, say, 100, why not? we should still get something that seems pretty correct. Okay, I feel like I would notice that that's a thing now. Oh, hey, I should heal someone. Excellent. That's so good. Okay, so what we don't have is a slider bar, but we have the capability to make use of a slider bar, and that is good. So we're going to go ahead and restore this to 36 for right now. Come back in. Start it back up. Awesome. I think we're done with the documentation here. And what do we have? We have use stretch mode to make them bigger. Yes. But we want to borrow that slider because that seems like a very personal decision on how big we want to make it. Check the drag bar's title is not too long. Well, that's a good question. Let's come back in here. We can see that the melodic interlude is definitely too long here. On the other hand, the default behavior of the drag bar is to rap. So we can see melodic interlude is rapping there, and I'm kind of okay with that. If we come in here and had an icon size of, say, 72, double it up here, and come back in, we can see melodic interlude. Yeah, not a problem. We can see all of it. So the rapping behavior I'm actually okay with because you can still read that. You can still understand what's going on there. There's no other window that's going to have the word melodic in it. And interlude's partially readable. Yeah, I think that is overcome by events for me. So I would say that we're good there. If you want the window to be so small that you can't see the whole title, then that's your business, and I don't have a problem with that. The only thing would be to try to truncate it somewhat, so it's like melodic ... but that actually provides less information, and all for the sake of, oh, it's only on one line. Nah, I don't follow. Okay. All right, needs testing on high-level minstrel. That's not a today problem, but that is a before I release it problem. Before releasing patch. Okay. So that's really it, right? We have a window that shows up when melodic interlude triggers. It goes away when melodic interlude goes away. You can use it now to trigger the two things that are valid. I feel like I don't have enough time to test it on stream because of that 10% chance, but maybe we'll go ahead and do that real fast. Okay, personal housing, good. Okay, so I think that we're rapidly approaching 10 o'clock, and I'm trying to be better about ending quote-unquote on time. I think i7 is not streaming today after his stream, but just in principle, I should be prepared for them. So go ahead and type !giveaway if you haven't already and would like to be entered in for 100 LOTRO points. And go ahead and throw any final thoughts, questions, concerns into chat, and we'll let those trickle in here for the last couple of minutes before we are done. All right, so our kinship neighborhood here on Treebeard has, among other things, a crafting station and a training dummy. So I might be able to get this to fire off here. The problem, of course, being that it's a 10% chance. There it is. All right, so I can go ahead and fire it off on me, and it disappeared. Oh, so good. One of the things that keeps me going is just getting super happy when I see code that I've written actually work. It's great. Okay, there it is. And what happens if I don't use one of those? I just use my own skills, and it disappears. So good. Because remember, you are a valid target for a friendly heal. So you can blow through your melodic interlude without ever having healed a member of your fellowship that is not you, which is frustrating. I wish I could dismiss the dummy. Okay, I'm done with you. Okay, so what have we learned today? We've learned that it is possible to trigger a very fascinating bug where an unspecified callback parameter is substituted in by the marshaller between Lua and C. And it is almost impossible to get it to trigger if you do any of the things that I normally do, so I've never seen it. So there's that. And we've also seen how to go ahead and take a skill ID and create a shortcut in a plugin user interface. And that's very, very exciting. That's something I've been interested in for Minstrels for a while. And so just figuring out how to do that and connecting the dots in my brain, now I've got a simple, straightforward example that I can use in other cases. Travel window is great, but the levels of abstraction it has, everything's wrapped inside of a class, which is in another class. It just meant that I had to take real time to understand what was I getting wrong in this process. And the answer turned out to be wrap your ID in a string. You know, I would have thought the raw number would be better, but yeah, not in this case. Okay. I wonder if you can sit in these chairs. Object does nothing. Lies. There we go. Okay. So, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and close down some of these files. Thank you so much for the inspiration travel window. I no longer need that one. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up here by remembering how to close a giveaway. Actually, just a moment. Awesome. Okay, so last chance, we're going to go ahead and close that giveaway. And apparently it's just exclamation point giveaway close. Awesome. All right, Moobot. Who won? All right. Well, Kronos, thank you so much for saying it was a great stream, and also you won. I can tell that you're here. Give me a moment to get that messaged to you. I'm not sure if I can do that easily here. Nope. Let me open up another window. All right. Send a message. Whisper. All right, and do you know, if you don't know how to use these, let me know. Excellent. All right. Did I need to do anything else with that? I get very used to Little Redhead being able to do this for me. All right. Awesome. There we go. And I think that's all of it. Cool. Okay. So, I didn't see anything else coming into chat with any last minute questions, comments, but thank you, Kronos, for tuning in. So, that is all we're going to cover today. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I believe i7 is not coming up next, but we'll be back hopefully next week. I do hope to see you here next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.